demo. The last one I ran a few days ago obviously was very poorly made and interrupted. I apologize for that. This time we've done a bit of work trying to fix some of the problems I was trying to point out in the last update. Unfortunately, this is probably going to be the last update for the game that comes out this year. I just got a lot of stuff around the house I got to take care of, other projects that need to be done before the year ends, and we only got about a month left to go. So, without further say, I will start pointing out this game. Here is the home screen of our game as it loads up. We're going to, obviously this screen sizes differently, but because I'm pulling it out of the editor instead of running it straight from Steam, we're going to have a few different changes here. Each of these are buttons. This comes to our Twitch channel, our YouTube channel, and of course to visit us on Discord, go ahead and click here. Also shows our version number updates with every time I update the system, because of course I'm trying to add notes. So that's good. You guys will definitely see on here whenever I feel it's ample time to add notes. So a new version change. Joining games, quite simple. We're going to try to walk through that today. Quitting game obviously works like a charm. Hosting game is fun. I probably need to go through and change some of this stuff here, but for now we're going to just leave this as Cricket server. The password's not enabled right now because I've got to finish debugging that, so bear with me. The system should be up and running quickly. That was just a default account that I made. Every server gets a different ID, and of course you can make unlimited of them for each server. All the characters are saved on the server, so I'm implementing a tool for the owners of the server or whoever has GM access, in case you forget your account and they can't fix it or whatever for you, to just be able to move your characters from one account to another. Hopefully that works out great. As far as this goes, right now we have our basic system. It looks much cleaner and nicer than the last update on Steam, so this will be great. It automatically starts off here showing our display name. Of course, we can switch that by going here to settings, player settings, and we can change our display name to Shield Guy. All right, and we change the icon to, assortment of icons. We'll be adding more soon. We'll go with this little one, and we're going to hit save changes. These images were not created specifically for this program, so a lot of them will be removed before launch of the game, or at very least locked until I get 100% approval to use them. Hopefully the lady who made these pictures for me still agrees with it, and I can add her officially and get the final say so. Anyways, you got font settings. This should automatically default to common, so anything you change by default should be common. For some reason, there's still a bug where it's set to none. Nevertheless, you can change the default settings for everything here, so common should be 32. Elvish, yours might actually start off at 12. You might have to manually change them. Once again, it's all based on what you like, so we're going to set the common to text to red. We don't have anything written over here, so not a big deal. Auto translate I'm going to leave off for this part, but this here should say that anytime you receive a message and the currently selected character, if they know that language, it'll automatically translate the language to common, which of course is not really translating because it's received as common and then we translate it into the languages for dramatic flair and fun effect. Ultimately, it's just fun. I like to leave it off because even when I receive messages from my other players, I like them to be in the spoken language because I think the letters and icons look good. We'll be changing some of those up because some of them don't quite fit. Once again, you got background color. I'm not going to use blue. We're actually going to use, you know what? I'm going to turn off the background flare for now. Just on mine, the private message, we're going to leave as red. And, I'm not sure why they have two of those. Oh, private and incoming. Yeah, that's why. Okay. So those are I'm going to leave there. We're going to see if private works properly. I just finished changing that setting. So regardless, once again, I said there's other window modes: full screen, full window. Automatically acquires all these settings from your monitor, or however that works. The system does that for me, so I didn't build that list. Just leaving that out there for everybody to know. This map here is only a demo on my screen. The camera used to show this current map is actually going to drastically change, and that's going to be done differently here soon. So I'm not going to get into that setup. This icon is really nice. This shows your player icon, what you have currently selected. I don't automatically update it, as you noticed when I selected it in there. So that is a small bug we will fix in the near future. The map size here, of course, does change and work correctly for the most part. Over here we've got a new button. This here is set. Small bug there too. You should always say 2, but I obviously wrote something wrong somewhere. But that's not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. The button basically changes it to speak to everyone, which is the default setting as it is anyways. So when I say hi, it's going to come in here and say hi to every player on the game. And that's specifically set up to the tab, your general chat tab. This first one that's created doesn't currently have an alterable ability yet. We will change that eventually. But currently general receives everything. As far as I know, should receive everything. I should have double checked that before making this video, but that's okay, no big deal. You also notice it says say. You have these other options, which is mostly just dramatic flair. So we yell, I hate you, and it says, hey, we're yelling, and I hate you, and each one has a different color, of course. Telepathic, to speak without speech, or whatever, however you want to implement that in your version of the game. So as I said, this map, not a big deal. I mentioned the button because dictionary, also not 100% working. There's this minor flaw when I updated the chat system to work. So the dictionary will be updated and working probably by the following patch, just because it's important, I feel. But the map button brings us back to the map because those are part of the same section of the screen. Roll dice still works as normal. This here determines how many dice, how many sides are on the dice, and if you want to add any additional numbers later. The number here does not matter too much right now. We can increase that number drastically in the future. I was just having issues with the text to int feature. There was a few flaws. It didn't like to always get rid of letters, and it was a pain in the butt. So now it rolls properly. This here obviously just randomized a total for me, 10d10 plus 5. It should have, and we'll check it in a minute, but it should have automatically sent that to chat. But we're going to actually hit this here, and you'll see it got rid of stuff, 10d10 plus 5, rolled the dice. It did not actually bring back the last accepted roll, which is also another bug. But when we go back to the chat menu, it should say the first number, which we randomized by the default engine, is 48, and a second number, which was rolled by the dice, is 62. Now you'll notice that there's some differences. This one here did not accept our player information when we did that system, and this one here took our actual account name, not the display name. That one's actually a bigger bug than the first one. The first one I obviously just didn't set it up correctly. The second one, I'm not sure why it's getting that number. Once again, not a problem, should be fixed by the next update, but the fact that you're getting the die roll as well as the breakdown on tooltip when you highlight it, which is actually better on the one where we randomized versus the die roll, which will be fixed as well. But the point is, it looks great. It's a nice breakdown, shows you what each die rolled. It's pretty. The tooltip will also be changed to look more pretty in the future. Just right now, I'm one guy. It's a pain in the butt type of situation. We're going to go to the journal next. Journal's great. You'll notice here, first of all, we're set to Shield Guy, which is, of course, our account name, and it shows it over here as well. Very important. When we click on it, it's going to show the list of characters that we have to select from. Basically, they're the characters already in our list. This will update and add more characters here as we get more characters on our list. The GM can give us characters as well as we have a button to request characters. In the future, there will be a limit to how many characters you can have and other such things based on what the GM settings are. But we haven't really messed with any GM settings, so we're going to completely bypass the GM stuff, including to log in to check the quest log and make sure it's working on this video. So for now, I've already added some journal entries. For instance, this one here on my main character already has an entry. Hi, I'm your mother. Automatically populated when we opened it up. It was already here. It does have a small bug. It's supposed to automatically take the last entry when it updates and display it over here. Small bug. Fixable. We'll get to that. But when I click on, say, Wisp has 2 journal entries. It did automatically populate the second entry like it was supposed to. We can then click between either of them with no problems. When I hit remove entry, which I'm not going to do now, well, maybe I can, why not? We're going to hit remove entry. As you see, it removed entry 1, but left entry 2 with the number. Now that is intentional. It's so that when we add a new entry, it starts at 3. And we plan to rename these entries in the future. It's not hard. It's hard part of the system. I just took it out for the moment. But it continues sequentially all the way through. And that was all set up for debugging purposes primarily. The quest log, when it gets it's live now, but when you use the quest log, it is also calculating all the quests in sequential number. And so when it displays the quests inactive or complete inside those categories, it actually will put them in order based on the quests of how they were cataloged. First of all, we're going to do some other sorting and reorganizing methods in the future. All of that's done by the GM right at this moment. And so obviously I didn't log in GM to prepare those for us, and that's because that's not what this is about today. I just wanted to show when we switched to Wisp, down over here it switched to Wisp. It also pulled up the journal entries. We switched to Grim. It switches to Grim down here. And he didn't have any journal entries. We go to Kevin. Also didn't have Colonel. And Shield Guy is supposed to have some. Oh, there it goes. It took just a second. So maybe they did have something. Nothing on him. Okay. I don't know what the issue was. But, oh, odd. It didn't populate them for reasons I'm not aware of. It worked on Wisp perfectly fine. Small bug. We'll get it fixed. So the other ones just don't have journal entries currently set. Obviously, Wisp is working perfect. Speaking of all this, we're going to go to character. As we notate, this and this are set to Wisp. Over here, it automatically has a setup to Wisp because we are already selected to Wisp. So when it populated, here's all of Wisp's stats that she had when she was populated. We come out. She shows level 5, Hunter, and she's built on my D&D card, which in the future is going to change. I'm going to attempt to import all the D&D settings from Roll20 for every player's account. And this will possibly be done every time you log in and choose to import characters from your D&D Beyond profile. We're working on that, but I don't want to feed into the D&D Beyond the character sheets and how they interact with the game. All the feats and stuff. I want that left to them. That's not really my thing. And so we're gonna figure that out in the future. I'll show you here. Your screen is probably going to be larger like mine. This is intended for mobile devices. Currently, as you can tell, it doesn't scale well to mobile devices yet, so that's going to be something that we're going to have to debug and figure out in the future. But as of right now, it works well for PC, especially at the larger screen size. Um, from here, it shows Wisp has 10 dexterity. If we upgrade her dexterity to, we can try 26, but it should, if it's working correctly, force us, yep, down to 20. It's great. When we did that, it should have also, where is, our armor class should have changed too, but for some reason it didn't. I don't know why. But I do know for sure, here on our saving throws, if we click this button here, it adds +5 to the saving throw. Now this button here will take that number and do something with it in the next update. For now, we're going to try to, when you click any of the stats, it's going to just automatically randomize and spit them out. We're going to give players the option based on their own player settings. There'll probably be a tick on the screen, figure out how that happens. That, like I said, that's just something. Obviously, Constitution, if I click it, and the rest of these, why is Constitution? I must have played with these and it didn't update the text correctly, so that's something I'll notate to fix later. But Constitution, if I set it to 16, is not working. How about 12? It did not redo that like it's supposed to. So there's a minor flaw with the Constitution as far as saving throws go, at very least, and that's fine. Strength, I do know, works at 14. See, it automatically added the +2. These skills here should automatically update as well. Now this here is your proficiency bonus from each of these. As you'll see, there's a 1, a 2, and a 5, which should be reflected over here, but obviously that one's not reflected properly. And that'll be reflected over here on all of your skills as we scroll up and down using my mouse wheel or drag this at this moment in time. Also, clicking on these will eventually send to the chat log. Currently doesn't, but we also have the improved efficiencies for, I believe only rogues get them, but when I click on here again, it doubles it, giving you better proficiencies. And this is primarily, rogues use this for like pickpocket, lock picking, stuff like that, but they have a few things they can choose out of, and I just added it to all of them because, you know, what character doesn't want to have an expert proficiency in some of their stats? So that works. The inventory system does work, but once again, like I said, I was going to try to pull from D&D Beyond, so I didn't want to pull inventory and feats up. And feats I could have stacked with all this stuff if it's mine. D&D Beyond, as far as I know, are a great company, and their stuff already sets up that way. So if we just find a way to work with them, I won't have to do any of that work. That's all on them. We'll just update from their sheet every time. And then, of course, our players will have a widget built into the system to update their sheet from or while playing our game, or they could do it at the end of the game or whatever. And then so we just reload the characters when needed for combat or whatever. Languages are great. Currently, because it is D&D, players are able to pencil in whatever they want, as I've shown. As you can see, this button's locked, and I plan to do this to all of them, add a lock. But I can't add more languages. She is stuck at Dwarvish and Common. And then before I go further into that, I will show you we're selected as Wisp. Dwarvish and Common are the only language she can select. Whereas if I go to my main character, myself, I get everything. Because right now, all people playing as themselves have access to all characters. Once again, for debugging purposes. Also, in the future, this will be set up for DM's choice. Maybe if you're not selected as a character, you don't get a talk at all, or maybe you only get a select or talk in common, something of that nature. There'll be options for the GM to, if they're logged in, it'll give them the option to speak from the GM voice, other such fun things. I could also show you to make sure, or to show you all that, it's not just Wisp, we go to Grim. Grim, I believe, is an elf. We click on elf. This is our current icon. If I talk here as Grim, it says, hello. It'll show Grim, his name, his icon. Also, set to telepathic. I may have that automatically switch back in the future. But whatever. We go to Kevin. We say, sup. There it is. There's Kevin's icon. And we're going back to Wisp. Hi. And so Wisp, obviously, that's a bug. That's supposed to reload every time their character switched. She went into Elvish. Should not know Elvish, only Dwarvish. So that's interesting. But, once again, not a difficult thing, just something apparently I didn't think about initially. Going back into myself, I get all my character voices back. Or learned languages or whatever. If we go back into the character, this is Wisp. Once again, we can come in here and say, well, Wisp also knows Infernal, or we're going to specifically go to Plant in this one case. Hitting the X removes the languages from here, or we can change them. Locking it goes back to the way it was, nice and pretty. May change font size in the future to make things look a little bit different, but ultimately right now I like it. I might also put a number for which order they're in. Not needed, but something for pretty to play with. We have a way to hide all of this stuff in the near future, which is why that lock is actually created here. It doesn't actually do anything right now, but in the future we're going to set this up so that locks all this stuff so it can't be changed, as well as give you the ability to drag all of these widgets around the screen so that you can set this up however you want. Maybe you don't care about half the stuff, or you just don't like the way I have it set up. That's an easy fix. I've just been ignoring it. You can click on this icon, of course, to change Wisp to one of these other people. Right now, I only have a couple, so we're going to just leave it at Wisp. This here is going to be a filter, so if I click, say, Peter, supposing it works, only the icons labeled as Peter will show up. And this is just the races, the total, because I have it set, each icon set so that you can sort it by a race, which is really just a string. We don't have anything special depicting this, so the string is just going to be our modifier. So I might have a beast on here, I might have it set to undead or human or whatever, and you'll only be able to select from those icons, and that's something pretty. We click on it, it switches our character. Of course, no changes are final until we save here. This here actually is a save button. It doesn't look like it. It's not supposed to be one, but it was defaulted when I first created the screen. But for the most part, I suggest clicking the save button because it works. Load character is sometimes needed because if you don't, they don't always update this screen to your new choice selection if you don't hit that load character button. And of course, when you do, it'll open up the last saved character most of the time. If we go like that, see, it opens it up sometimes. Not sure why. I think it's just because I was trying to open up characters, make it look pretty. It can be changed. We're also going to set this up here soon. So for instance, if I click the D&D button, which obviously it changes things, pretty bad. This here will load up everybody with the D&D as soon as I set this up correctly instead of incorrectly. Obviously, it's D&D 5e instead of just D&D, so it'll have the 5e on there. And this here will have like top to bottom, left to right, kind of cool things in here. So the game type is important. Players, it now shows my icon, my name. It's a feature that's been in before, but I had it ruined at some point. I don't know why, but we can click on it and we can hit send message. Currently, this is the only way to send a private message to other players, but we hit send message. It shows here Whisper Shield Guy. So of course I'm going to receive it, and it sends straight to me, hello, from me, because it's me, so you can't really see much. And I'm going to at some point switch it from say to private message, or have some way to know that that was private. But also, because it was sent privately, supposing you have a different tab setup open, which will be giving back to players in the near future. At the top, if your tab that you have set up to, you want one tab for private messages and one for general or whatever, that'll be an option. So it automatically sorts there. As we can tell, private or general already accepts private messages like it should. So you don't notice much difference as of right now. Like I said, I'll fix that in the future to tell you if it was private or not. That's the biggest features that we need to worry about right now. I will come over here and we'll hit join game. It should, and it's not, but it should show up the character icon. So that's something I'm going to have to look into before I actually put out this patch. But let's say we do join the game. We obviously won't have our own account. If you're Steam, it'll automatically create an account and log you in. You don't ever have to worry about anything. But over here, we're going to go 321-654. You can pick a race name. And we hit randomize. It picks Jill because I don't actually have customized races right now. So no big deal. We're going to go 321-654 and hit finish. And that must be a bug because it set me to Jack Carla instead of Jill Cassia. But as you can tell, creating a new account is simple. I've just got to double check and figure out why my join didn't work. And I'll add some refresh buttons and stuff like that. Nothing big. But yeah, that's the game. I'll fix that one problem and I'm going to send it to Steam. Thanks.